Black magic.
You got to know, got to show, it's time to roll. So just tell me what you want to hear. Tell me what you want, so just tell me what you want to hear.
There he is.
There we go. I don't know what's happening right now. I'm having a bit of computer failure right now. How are you though, Courtney?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I was liking that groove to start the intro.
Yeah, well, hey man, that's what we do. We gotta come with the right music, especially if we've got a musical guy quite like yourself.
Right on.
Hey, thanks so much for taking the time out of your day to come in, spend some time with us here. One huge fan, and so many of our fans at home are as well. Children of the Corn, Back to the Future, Memphis Belle, which was a big one for me growing up. You've done it all. You've acted across everybody. When somebody comes up to you and asks you that inevitable question, what's the one that sticks out the most to you?
Yeah, I always say, man, that's like pick your favorite kid or something. That's that's a horrible question.
Right. Fair.
But if I had to pick one, Memphis Belle it was an incredible experience for all of us. We got to go to the United Kingdom for 3 months, shoot at famous Pinewood Studios, work with some of the best crew of, we had, several Oscar award winners on our crew, our DP, our production designer, our editor, our producer, so whenever I see the guys from the project, we always talk about we've been chasing that great experience the rest of our career.
Now, what is that like, though, having to, kind of try to chase that, glory again? Is it because you always hear that in the sports world, someone who wins a championship early in their career, they're like, I spent my entire career trying to get that again. Is that a similar feeling?
Interesting for Reed Diamond in the movie. That was his first movie. So talk about a first movie out of the gate. My first movie was Children of the Corn, which obviously has gone on to be its own iconic thing. But to have your first movie be Memphis Belle, that's a pretty hard to top, in your career. I think for me, interestingly enough, I sort of made the mistake at that point of thinking I had arrived because that was the biggest film to get at that year, at that age range. I mean, everybody wanted in on that movie. So I'd been working so hard to get to that point that then I sort of took my eye off the ball a little bit. I ended up starting a band, my first band called The Gathering in LA. And I started a production company. And then I also ended up getting married and having a kid. And it was once I had a kid that I re-woke up and was like, yo, man, I haven't worked in a while. I got to make some money, keep a roof over our head. And that's when I really refocused again. You'll sort of see there's a little gap on my IMDb. And then in the 90s, like 92, all of a sudden I start doing a lot of guest stars in TV. And it was time to get back to work.
Now, what is that like going from acting in movies to then, taking that break, like you said, refocusing, and then starting kind of at the bottom again? It almost sounds like if you're, but you've got that heads up though, right? Like that kind of
quite the bottom, but there was an element of starting over. And part of that was also age. It was like what I was looking at was I'd had this teen run, in 80s teen cinema. I had this great run. And when I sort of stepped back into it, as it were, what I was looking at was there was no 20-something roles. There was college and below, and then there was like 30-something. Matter of fact, there was a show called 30-something at that point.
Right.
So I was like, what am I going to do, right? Like I'm kind of a baby face, but they've been seeing me for a decade. The casting directors, they won't buy it. They know. So I was like, what at 30 can I pull off? And I was like, Mad Dogs, bad guys. So I grew the hair back again. I combed it back to make it recede, grew a goatee, aged myself up a little bit. And, there's Benny Bliss. So like, that's a whole other thing we'll talk about. But I went on a run of playing bad guys. And for the most part, it wasn't the only thing I did in those guest stars. But and then I was doing independent movies as well and such. But I just had to get busy again. And Mad Dogs was kind of the goal and a run for like a decade. And I was like, I'm burned out on that. And I cut all the hair off and said, I'm doing, I remember I could do comedy. And that's when Sweet Home Alabama showed up and kind of rebooted again. So you've been at it like 35 years like I have. You got to kind of reboot every once in a while and see what age am I now and what kind of roles are available for that age and how do I go out and make that work.
Now, is that how music fits into your life as well? Is that another kind of, you hit that mark where it's time to reinvent once again? And
music's always been there. It's just I haven't really been out there pushing it. So I started taking Acoustic Gains Volume 1. Yes, Cherish. That just came out last week. And I got another single dropping off this record on next Monday called Let It Ride, which is a bluesy tune, very vintage bluesy vibe. But I started taking music lessons, guitar lessons around the same time that I started taking acting lessons, which was like 13 years old. But my intention was to become a professional actor. I wasn't necessarily looking to become a professional musician per se. So my approach was different. As an actor, I was always in a class, always learning all the different method types. So I had everything I could bring in my toolbox to work. As a musician, I took lessons for a few years. And then from that point on, I really taught myself to play up the neck, as they call it. And really what it was about was writing music. I really enjoy the process of writing music. And it also really helped me through a lot of tough times in my life. When there was things that I was going through emotionally that I couldn't articulate exactly how I felt, I could write a song about it. And, my other band, the band I have now, Ripple Street, we put out a record a few years ago. If somebody takes the time to listen to that record, that whole record is a breakup. That's just a breakup record. And that's when I got approached by this guy, Stephen Lee Adams, my bass player, co-writing partner. I was at a point where I just gone through a bad breakup, and it was a great place to vent my frustrations and then go play live and get it out. And that's exactly what I did for a few years. I just purged all of that stuff I was upset about. And artists are lucky that way that there's ways we can articulate what we're feeling, and there's ways we can get out what we're feeling. And acting classes are the same way. They provide a space to just get out the garbage, where most of us don't have that, which is why I think people go postal. They don't have a place to vent.
Right. I was even going to say, it seems a lot like what artists do, and such a broad term, but I mean, in the traditional sense of painting and stuff, you talked about them trying to get their emotions out. That's
right. Any form of art is a way to express yourself, and usually about something you're either upset about or are feeling some sort of repression from society. And I think, for example, police officers, they have such a tough job, and they deal with the worst of the worst to the point where they think the world is nothing but the worst of the worst. I think I think cops should only be allowed to be a cop on the street for a certain period, a few years, and they take a break and do some social service or something, or something, do some therapy, and then go back out, because it's just too stressful. It's just too stressful of a thing to go through constantly, and to the point where they grow numb, and just act out, in bad ways and get away, up until recently, really getting away with it a lot,
Yeah, exactly. Which is crazy. And you're from the South. You're in the South right now.
I'm from LA originally. I spend time now partially in the Southeast and in LA because there's a whole Atlanta market now that, I wanted to, and it's not just Atlanta. Basically, the Southeast is a 500-mile radius, so where you're hired as a local. So there's a lot of work in Kentucky right now because Kentucky's got film incentives. Right. Oklahoma. I did a movie in Oklahoma not too long ago because Oklahoma's now got incentives. A lot of stuff's being shot out there. North Carolina. So, and then of course the mecca of the Southeast though is definitely Atlanta.
Yeah. Now, what about, we're seeing all these, because I'm in Canada, so it's,
what part of Canada are you?
Niagara Falls area.
Oh, that's right, Niagara Falls. You said that, right?
Yeah. It's weird for us though watching the news, because especially being a border town, we see nothing but American news all the time. We've been seeing a lot of film productions pull out of Georgia and things like that over political stuff. Where do you stand on things like that? And I'm not asking about what side you are for those certain politics, but where are you when it comes to politics in entertainment? When it comes to
I don't mind talking about it either. I lean a little toward the left, but I think as I grow older, I think I become more of a centrist, And what I don't like is the news today. I don't like that I watch more CNN than say Fox, but I feel like CNN's too to the left too, and I feel it's like too much opinions. I don't want your opinion. I want Dan Rather to tell me the news and make my own opinion. And I miss that. I miss the old days when you had somebody who just told you the facts and let you have your own version. Because nowadays there's no middle. It's too far one way or too far the other, and I think that's causing the divisiveness. And to plug music again for a second, after the insurrection or whatever you want to call it, I put out a song. I put out a song that day actually called "The Great Divide" with my band, The Ripple Street, that was just talking about all of that, because basically saying that we're put in positions, right? Like one of the lyrics is like, you're for the second or you're for gun control. Like you can't be in the middle. Like you can't be like, okay, I'm not saying we don't have any guns, but do we have to have machine guns in the streets?
Right.
And that's just natural, logical things, but they want to make everything divisive. You got to be all the way on one side or all the way on the other, and it's not good for this country, man. It's not good for us, and it's weakening us. And so I wrote this song called "The Great Divide," and there's a music video on YouTube if you want to see it. And I'm showing both the Black Matters protests and I'm showing Trump protests, because both were happening, especially during this COVID time. It was like a perfect storm with it being an election year too. And I watched a lot of people that were, people that were friends just go completely off the rails, during that time. And we're just constantly posting, incendiary stuff to the point where you really couldn't talk to people. And so that's why I felt like, again, as an artist, the way I can make a statement is put out a song. And it was very interesting that when I went and shared that with people, how some people you would think were like really, really right, be like, I agree with that, or thank you for putting that out. Or people from the left going, not really articulate, but there'd be people like would not respond. Like they did not want to even have the conversation, like
it's almost they hate people that are level-headed. And I'm with you there, because I do lean more left, than right. But I stopped watching CNN as well. Fox I couldn't do because they were too theatrical, I found, almost all the time.
They're lying.
But then CNN's got there too. Yeah. I stick NPR and Canadian news. Here we have the law. It's law here that we have to just report facts. We can't do opinions.
I have a very good friend who still acts some, but a Canadian actress named Lenore Zam. She's actually a politician now. But I've known her for years and years and years, and it's been interesting to watch her rise up. She's in Nova Scotia, and she gets just infuriated with American news, because it's just so crazy, And I don't, but she understands because she's a politician. Like she really understands what's going on, and
which makes it harder probably for her.
Yeah, she just shakes her head. She just can't believe how far how crazy we've gone off the rails here.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, at least from the Canadian perspective right now, it seems like it's calmed down quite a bit over the last couple months.
It has, but there's still a lot of shootings and things happening,
Right.
Like way too much, that part is like, there's sort of like, yeah, you don't have Trump on the news every day being a crazy maker, but you still have a lot of crazies out there still causing waves and, shooting people over like nonsense. Like somebody, somebody at a, clerk at a store says like, you got to wear a mask here. And then somebody shoots them. It's like, come on, man.
Right.
You don't like it? Don't like it? Don't shop at the store anymore. How about that? You don't got to go shoot somebody.
That was my whole thing too. Like whether you were pro-mask or anti-mask, you wouldn't go into McDonald's and say, oh, you're going against my rights to wear shoes. There's a sign that says there, no shoes, no shirt, no service. Get over it. Like you don't get mad at them.
Yeah, it was a shame that the whole mask thing got politicized. And I've worked in Vancouver and I've worked in Calgary, and I've been to Canada and I've had Canadian girlfriends, and Canadians always shake their head at America because we're crazy, and I understand it. I think traditionally, Canadians as a whole have been a much more logical, society, and it's an interesting, obviously your medical is 1,000 times better than ours, in terms of you can go and get medical treatment very cheap. But of course, we would never be able to have that because in a capitalist model, your government has the tobacco and the alcohol and all these things they make money on, which in America, that's not the way it's going to go. So I don't know how we solve our medical issues because we don't have our government having in some major money making situations.
When you look at the amount of money that goes into the American military,
that's true.
And they're like, just even like a portion of that. And I'm talking, when I say a portion, I'm saying like a 0.005% of that portion. Which you guys can have healthcare.
Which you're right, and which again would be logical, wouldn't it? And for some reason, this country just is not logical. It's very emotional. It's hard for me to explain too.
Yeah, Nathan says Americans are by definition crazy. We accept this. Nate is in Oklahoma, I believe, as well.
Yeah, I wish I could argue that point, but I really can't.
You should have seen England that were fighting over toilet roll. Ridiculous. Here in Canada as well, as soon as COVID started. Canada,
I remember getting in fights with people over that because I was making fun of them for hogging up all the toilet paper. I thought it was hilarious. That it was a big overreact. But some people I know didn't find that funny at all to make funny jokes about them, hogging up toilet paper. So
I don't know if you know Devon Sawa at all.
Mm-mm.
He was the actor from Final Destination movie.
Oh, okay.
And the guy Devil's, where he has the hand transplant, the horror movie. He is hilarious to follow on Twitter. I'll let you know that right now. One of my favorite people, especially when it comes to things like this. Good evening, Simon, and everybody else. And Amy Welch wanted to say it's always she will always reference the Burbs.
Good. What's your quote? What's your favorite quote?
Yeah, Amy, if you're still on there, what is your favorite Burbs quote?
When I do conventions, there's sardines or it came with the frame. So I don't know what that says about a human being, but those are the two quotes.
It's sardines every single time. Christopher Darton, fantastic director, indie director here in Canada. And I'm not just saying that just because he hired me for his latest movie. But the movie was Idle Hands that starred Devon Sawa. Thank you. And anybody, what is your favorite Courtney Gains quote or favorite quote from any movie that Courtney Gains has been in?
I got some good ones, right? That's the amazing thing is, to have anything in the lexicon of pop culture to me is like that's happened at all is amazing. But I'm not going to let them say what they like, but there's certainly, I know the ones people scream at me to say on the streets and things. That's for sure.
Right. Nate, back to the politics, says the American defense budget goes to a lot more than defense. Did you know the DoD budget pays for child nutrition? No, and I get all that. I still get all that.
Political, man.
Yeah. But that shit.
Is that where you get the big blocks of cheese? Is that what they come up with those big?
Right.
Remember those things? Oh my God.
Which don't they fight over in Scotland and when they drop the cheese roll down the mountain? Behind Enemy Lines, maybe my favorite work on your CV.
Wow, we don't hear much about that. That was fun. I got to I worked for director Mark Griffiths, who was also the director that I did Hard Bodies with, and we got to shoot that in the Philippines. That was quite an experience. Some amazing and beautiful locations we got to shoot in, but also we would have 4 or 5 soldiers with us wherever we went with M16s. So that was always a little like, is this a little more unstable than I thought it would be? And the other thing that was very surprising was how huge basketball is there. They have their own professional league, but in the community, in the summer, they have games every day with people announcing and everything, like different communities come and play with each other. And there are dudes who can play full court in flip-flops. Don't ask me how. But they can, and I played with them, and I managed to twist my ankle pretty bad playing ball while I was there. So you might notice sometimes in that movie I'm hobbling around. It's because I racked my ankle up playing ball. But we had a black actor in the movie who had a shaved head, and he was probably about 6'2", but to these little kids they thought he was just huge, and they would always be like, Shaquille O'Neal, Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal. And I don't
know if that's beautiful or a little bit horrible.
He was great about it. He was great about it. And it showed you how big the sport is there. And I always keep saying the first Filipino NBA player is going to have statues in the Philippines. It will be the biggest thing ever.
Really? That's awesome to hear.
I'll tell you, it will be big. I mean, the sport is very, very popular there.
You were essential part of George McFly's hero story in Back to the Future. If he hadn't shoved you on the dance floor, you could have ended up as Marty's dad.
There you go. That's true. That's true.
Danielle's the biggest Back to the Future fan that I know. She cosplays. She goes around, does YouTube videos from all the different set locations.
Wow.
Yeah, she's a huge fan.
Well, she'll dig this then. So the Enchantment by the Sea was shot at this big church in right near Hollywood Boulevard, Hollywood and Highland. And years later they had a convention and they redid the Enchantment by the Sea. It looked spot freaking on. It was pretty cool. So that was crazy for me to go back 20 years later, and it was like, deja vu or something. That made it worth going to do it just to see what they did with the Enchantment by the Sea. It was just an old like basketball court in this place that was built like in the 40s, but they did it looked dead on. They recreated it dead on.
Well, here, let's take a quick look for people that may have don't remember Courtney in Back to the Future. Let's give a quick little look here.
There he is.
There he is. There's McFly.
Yep. Oh, this is what I'm kicking him in the ass down the hall, right? Now, Crispin Glover and I, we'd worked together once before. The first thing I ever did was an American Film Institute short, and I always forget the name of it. But it's sort of this legendary thing because they've done 3 versions of this movie, and Sean Penn played the role, Crispin Glover played the role, and now you can buy it as the trilogy called the Beaver Trilogy. And Crispin to this day is the best thing he's ever done, still to this day. And the story that's love to tell is just so crazy. So it's my first job. I come in, the guy's like, okay, you 2 guys are smoking cigarettes, in the boys' room, and just improv, and we're going. And then all of a sudden, the bathroom stall opens, and Crispin Glover comes out dressed in that black outfit from Olivia Newton-John in Grease. If you can imagine,
and he probably rocked it.
Well, he's doing the Crispin thing, like, oh, well, hey guys, what's going on here? How you doing? And I'm just blown away by the outfit, right? But then secondly, I'm just blown away by this actor. Like, I'm watching him going, this guy's great. Who the hell is this?
I have been saying, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Not at all.
I've been saying though since, before the Dark Knight movies came out with Christian Bale, I wanted to see Ben Affleck as Batman and Crispin Glover as the Joker, because I think there is not people always say Willem Dafoe. I get that. He's got the natural smile. But watch Willard. Watch the Charlie's Angels movie.
Oh, he's great in that.
I mean, watch American Gods. He was born to play the Joker, in my opinion, and Billy Zane should have been Lex Luthor.
Ooh, those are interesting casts. I like them both.
And you should have been Jimmy Olsen. I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there. It's not the redhead, but I mean it helps.
That would have been wild. Crispin. I mean, who's more interesting to watch than Crispin, in my opinion? I mean, he's so interesting. We got to work together again a third time on a miniseries a few years back called Texas Rising, which I thought was very surprised for him to be cast in a Western, but he was great. But it was great to get to catch up with him again and go. Like literally, he always talks about that movie we did and how it's still to the day he feels it's the best performance of his life. So if you're a Crispin fan, go find the Beaver trilogies. Yeah,
and I would tell you to boycott Back to the Future 2 through 3, but I know Danielle will not. That's
a whole nother hot story, yeah. And Crispin's a pretty mild-mannered guy until you talk about that, because if people don't know, they used his likeness, and then he sued Universal and he sued Spielberg, and he won. He won quite a big settlement.
Good.
But even though he did, he's still pissed off to this day that they dared to use his likeness. And who knows how much work him suing Universal has cost him in his career,
Oh,
but
exactly.
He stood by his principles, and he set a standard that now that's been litigated, that no one can do that and get away with it. So it's a piece of Hollywood history, man.
Chris Darton says, my favorite, Lust in the Dust. Courtney Devine and Tab Hunter in a Paul Bartel film.
I'm loving this group of people. Your guys are pulling out really interesting stuff that I don't get to talk about a lot. Like at conventions, I may sign one Lust in the Dust picture a whole convention. Most people don't know that movie, and if I have it, they're thrilled because they're like, "What? You have?" Because that was my third film. And it was an experience where I got to shoot with just tons of great veteran actors. I mean, Cesar Romero, Lainey Kazan, Tab Hunter, Jeffrey Lewis from the Any Which Way You Can and Any Which Way But Loose, and I got to go to Santa Fe, New Mexico, which was just a gorgeous place. And I always say if I had had any, I wish I had bought property in the '80s when I went there because it would be worth a lot of money now. And but I was only on the gig for a couple of weeks, but I stayed another 2 weeks just to watch all these great veterans work, and it was, and I don't regret it at all. It was my third film, and I recognize like these. I mean, come on, talk about the Joker, the original Joker, man, the original Joker. Let's circle back to that.
Wait, Matthew Modine?
Yeah.
Full Metal Jacket reference. Sorry,
Cesar Romero. Yeah, Cesar Romero. Yeah, I'd be like talking to him all like, "Hey," and he was just like. Yeah, just the veteran, like I've been through it all, kid.
I wanted somebody to ask him why he refused to shave the mustache.
Yeah.
The original Henry Cavill.
Yeah, that's
not shaving.
But I was obviously a fan. I loved all the character actors in Batman growing up. I mean, so many Burgess, so many great character actors.
Frank Gershwin.
Yeah, and exactly. Being a character actor, of course, those are the guys that stand out to me, and I feel they made the show, in my opinion.
For sure. Simon Scott, character actor, and also an extra on Warrior on HBO Max, says, "How was it on Faster with Dwayne Johnson?"
Another good question. I'm liking this intelligent group. So I tell my funny story here. So. The first thing we shot was the scene where after we got his character and his brother and we're interrogating them where the money is, and then we slit his brother's throat, right? And so he has to go, no, right? 2 days we did that.
Because he couldn't hit it?
Nah. And I'm thinking to myself, man, after 3 takes, I'm like, dude, just tell me what you want. I'll give you that and we can get the hell out of here. Now, he did not hesitate. Every time he asked him to do it again, he did it again. He gave it his best. Again. Never for a moment had ego. Never for a moment had attitude. And he really set the bar for everybody, right? Like if this lead guy in our movie is just willing to do whatever he's asked, right? So then finally, 2 days of that, we turn around to me and I have a bunch of dialogue. And of course, what do I get? I get 3 takes, right? And I understand, and I did fine, but I knew that we had all felt that angst and I knew by this time Dwayne was a nice guy, and I turned to him and I go, "See, man, that's how you do it." And of course he busts up, crew busts up, and it was just the laugh we all needed because we just been through like 2 days of hell,
Amazing.
But that tells you how grounded of a guy, A-list actor he is, that he is not the kind of guy who can't, laugh at himself and laugh at a situation,
Well, that's great. And it's good to hear stuff like that about Dwayne. I'm a hardcore wrestling nerd. I grew up watching it all. I do play-by-play for local wrestling. So to me, to hear that he's really that good of a guy, it's great.
For sure. Yeah.
Nate Cochran says, Memphis Belle is my dad's favorite war film. Did you get to actually fly in any of that film?
Man, these are good questions. I'm enjoying this because a lot of times, questions I've heard before or whatever. So that would be one of my Memphis Belle stories. So yeah, we went to England to shoot. We got there on July 1st and we kept egging them on, and they were like, no, the insurance. I was like, you can't do this. And then on the 4th of July, which of course in the UK was not celebrated at all, so it was very strange for us Americans, we got to go up in a real B-17 and do second unit photography. And
wow.
That was just an incredible experience, something none of us will ever forget. And it also just really helped us as actors because I got to see the Focke-Wulfs doing their dives coming at us, and seeing how hard it would be to be able to shoot them, So I wasn't, it gave me something in my imagination to use when we were shooting when, of course, there were no Focke-Wulfs. They're just pretending there are. But I actually had a real visual I could use. So it was a tremendous, tremendous thing. And like I said, an experience none of us will ever forget.
And was it intense, even though it wasn't real, like just to sit under that?
It was an amazing experience. In the shooting, what they did is they put us through a boot camp, and it was hard, but it was genius because what happened was when we were shooting, they had an interior of a plane broken into 5 pieces, and sometimes it would just be you and the other guy you're with because you don't really need to see anybody else,
Right.
And so there were times where like Harry Connick, he waited months to shoot, and then basically he was just in that little tail by himself 90% of the time. So we needed that bonding experience to be able to sort of pull on,
Right.
And it really shows. You would never know that we're not all together. But it was also very uncomfortable. We were in these, the leathers plus the wool suits underneath that are like supposed to be electrical suits, real electrical suits to keep them warm because it was so cold up there. So
Right.
you have 12K lights blazing in on you, and in that outfit. There were times where I almost passed out a couple of times because you were just losing so much fluids. Honestly, from that point of view, it was the hardest shoot I've ever done. I always, whenever people are like, it's a bad day and we're sweaty or whatever, I'm like, yeah, compared to Memphis Belle, nothing. So
that's a real old school director type of thing, making you guys do that bonding experience before the movies.
it was
I
great.
wonder, is that something that died before COVID, or was it still happening? And do you see it not?
I think
Sorry,
it
go
just
ahead.
comes down to the budget and such as well. Do they have the time? I mean, to have the luxury to go send us away for a week and get trained and work with experts in different fields and all was something that maybe a smaller budget maybe just wouldn't have access to.
Fair enough.
We were trained by these guys who were like the equivalent to the to Green Berets here, the SAS guys, and 3 of the guys that trained us were the guys that I don't know if you remember when the embassy was taken over in England before the Falkland War.
A long time ago.
These were the dudes who parachuted onto the thing and then swung in ropes and broke through and took it back. 3 of the dudes who trained us were like the 8 dudes who did that.
And one of them could kill everybody on set by themselves.
These guys were the real deal.
The real McCoys.
Yeah.
We have a couple questions that came in yesterday because I'm blaming everything on my surgery last week. But I thought our interview was yesterday for some reason. So I posted early. So these are a few questions from yesterday. These are from Ryan's All Things Geek to start. Pat Thompson just wants to say he really remembers you from Escape from New York.
I wish I was in Escape from New York.
I checked your IMDb. I'm like, I did not see that.
I wish. That's like up there, maybe like top 20 movies, right up there with like Warriors or something when I was a kid.
Right.
Adrienne Barbeau was in that. Now that I remember when I first started doing conventions with her, I was pretty starstruck because I had a crush on her when I was a young guy. That's for sure.
Now that's something I will want to ask you about a little bit. What it's like having to do, love scenes or having to work across from someone that you really admire or that maybe you might have had a crush on or still do.
Yeah, I don't get the opportunity to do a lot of love scenes, as you can imagine. But whenever I have anything, even if it's like a sexually advanced, like or even a rape scene, like in Halloween, I really look to the girl to set what she's comfortable with.
Fair.
I let her, she dictates it. You know what I mean? I'm not going to force myself on that situation. So the more comfortable she is, the more comfortable I am to, do things. And I, ask and we check, but it really has to do with that. You have to respect those boundaries.
And you should too.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that they set the tone, and most of the time they're very cool. But sometimes maybe not as much. You do what you can. You respect the process. Because it's a more uncomfortable situation for them than it is for me, is the way I look at it. So, so there's that. And then what was the second part of that? When you work with people, the hardest situation of that by far was the Burbs, because
really?
Yeah, because look who we had, man. You've got Tom Hanks, right? I mean, I grew up watching him do Bosom Buddies and beyond, right? I watched him in his one of the best guest stars ever on Happy Days, right?
Or on Family Ties as the drunk uncle.
Yeah. So, I mean, I grew up on him, but you're talking, Carrie Fisher from freaking Star Wars, man. I mean, we're talking like childhood stuff. And then I was a big Bruce Dern fan already, as well. So
Feldman for a while. That was before we all knew Corey.
Feldman too, absolutely, man. I mean, I actually, obviously, people have chronicled, he's chronicled his wackiness in things, but I think Corey's is still a very, very good actor, but I think was a great childhood actor. I mean,
For sure.
By Me is, a fantastic film and a fantastic performance. I think he's underrated. I've said that, I've said that to anybody who asks me, and so no, him too. And
the Frog Brothers.
Yeah, and it was just. But I had, like I said, is this character who's supposed to be a stranger from a strange land. Everywhere I look, there was somebody I literally grew up on.
Right.
And I had to really shake that off. I had to really shake that off, and it took a little while. I mean, Henry Gibson too. I mean, Henry, from Laughing all the way to the Blues Brothers. Again, one of my favorite movies growing up. So it was, even one of the Klopeks was incredibly recognizable to me.
Do you still get that at all now?
Get what?
Like where you're on stage, like you just did the Queen Bees movie, like, and you're there with legends there as well. Like,
That's why I did that job, because I had it. So
Curtin.
I got to work with Ellen Burstyn, Ann-Margret, Jane Curtin, and Loretta Devine. I mean, come on, four iconic ladies in their own right. So I was more mentally prepared for it than from years of experience doing things like the Burbs. But still, sure, there was a little bit of that. And, when I got introduced to them all, Jane Curtin was so generous. She's like, I know you, you've been in everything. That's Jane Curtin telling me that, it just really put me at ease. There's a picture, and look at all.
That's right after they whooped your ass. No, sorry for the spoilers.
Yes. Absolutely. No, it was great to get to work with them. And, at this point, I'm older, and, I too am a veteran, so I feel like I can, hold my own. But no, I was thrilled to get to work with all of them, and it was a lot of fun.
Fantastic. All right, some other questions that were from yesterday. Mike Al said, I just want to know what it was like on the set of The Burbs, because that cast was mental, as you put out there. There were so many great ones.
Well, number one, Tom Hanks is the most down-to-list A-list actor you're ever going to meet. He's just a dude, very Americana. His idea of a good time was sitting there in his director's chair, or whatever, the chairs we sit in, right, listening to a ball game on the radio, smoking a stogie. Like, I mean, does it get more Americana than that?
Is he really is Mr. Rogers?
Yeah, that's a great role for him. And this, like what he did, I was like, oh my God, perfect. Because he's as Americana as it gets, So, but having a guy that down to earth, it sets the tone, right? So when anybody else starts going wanky, you have your star like this, like Mr. Bello. You can't go too wanky, right? So that's a good thing. The most unusual or interesting thing about that project was there was a writer's strike on.
Right, I remember that.
I was too young to really appreciate how many people were out of work, because I had just been working nonstop at that time. But on the Universal lot, there was literally us and Fletch 2, and that was it.
Wow.
And we shot all nights, so it was like we were always on that famous cul-de-sac where the Munsters was shot, Desperate Housewives, so many projects have been shot. But it was, we were like the only ones there. It was pretty wild.
That's awesome. We're getting close. I know you don't have much time, so let me blow through some of these questions real quickly if we can here.
No, we'll get to them all, man. Let's do it.
All right. Alan Dion wants to say, do you stay in touch with John Franklin?
He's one of the few. Another great question. Everybody always intends to stay in touch. It's like we're the circus. We come to town, we sort of bond, and then we all go our separate ways. We're like, keep in touch. And people don't really do a good job at it, and I'm as guilty as anybody of not following through. But John and I, we're just linked together because of Children of the Corn. We're just linked together. There's no getting around it. And then we do, and so it was our first project, and we have a similar experience. Once the movie came out, and children crying when they see us, in the real world, and things that only the two of us could understand. Right? So
you guys share that bond.
We do. And then we do conventions, and, we talk about Q&As, we always do them together, and that's good because John loves the crowd. He's much more of a ham than I am, and he really leads the charge. I'm a little more shy, and And I answer the questions and everything, but I'm not as like, hey everybody, what's going on? He loves it because he comes from a theater background. He loves the crowd, so it's great. He carries the day, and but yeah, we're forever linked. So
awesome.
So we do keep in touch.
Great question. Barb Golden just wants to say that Children of the Corn scared the shit out of her as a teenager. She will never watch it again. Well, thank you for that.
Welcome. You're welcome.
Paul LaBelle says on IMDb that you write music and plays guitar. Paul's a drummer, lifelong drummer, my age, 46.
Right.
What is your favorite genre of music? And if you had one band to see live, who would it be?
Woo! Well, I'm definitely a rock and roll, and as I've gotten older, blues guy. So I'm a rocker. And wow, one band, I guess it'd have to be Zeppelin, man.
Now, do you think they should do one tour, Jason?
Maybe. I mean, Jason's he knows all the material, right? And he's good. I'm surprised they haven't. I mean, why not? Why not?
Well, I think the whole problem is really Robert, though, because Robert doesn't have the vocals anymore.
Not only that, but he's also been able to forge a career on his own, which, maybe people didn't think he could pull off, but he has success. Right. He doesn't necessarily need to deal with whatever they went through as a unit, But yeah, I think if the closest I ever got was I saw a tribute that had Eric Clapton did a set. Jeff Beck did a set, and of course, two monster guitar players. I mean, Beck's like a beast, right?
Yep.
But Page came out, and it was the worst set. He sang what he did with the singer from Bad Company. But when he played "Stairway to Heaven," that place went berserk, including me, because that was the closest I was ever going to get to a Zepp show.
Right. Oh wow.
I mean, that was like the hair was standing on the back of my neck. That was,
Yeah,
these guys had great sets, but he had that in his pocket. He had Stairway to Heaven,
Oh, for sure. Growing up for us, it was Zeppelin and Pink Floyd. And every teen dance ended with Stairway to Heaven. No matter where you were, if it was a teen dance, Stairway to Heaven was the last song of the night.
I did see Pink Floyd, but I didn't get to see them with Waters, which, of course, really is the combo of what Floyd is.
So they did that concert in 94.
Mm-hmm.
They came to Toronto on a 2-show night. I couldn't go because I was doing a play, and that was opening night, opening weekend. I legit, just before our interview stopped, I legit just took off my Pink Floyd T-shirt because it doesn't go with the green screen. And then they added the third show, and I still couldn't go because we had the Sunday matinee. I was so mad.
But getting to watch Gilmore play lead, that was something else. I mean, his stuff is so, it's slow and tasty and seems simple, but it's not. Right. He's a master.
We also have Ray Iannaro, who's actually a singer in a jazz band, a funk band down here.
Nice.
He says, ask him, Sardine.
Sardine, that's not a question, really, I guess. Well, it is kind of right. You did write sardine with a question mark. You're right.
Yeah, you did.
No, thank you. The question answer is no, thank you, but I'll be happy to sign one for you, a sardine can at a show.
And then Danielle, who we've had on the show, says, she already asked that. Behind the scene, not sure if she did. Do you have any behind the scenes stories from Back to the Future you could share that nobody else is, like, you haven't really done already a million times?
Ooh, I don't know if I have one I could share that I haven't done a million times, but the biggest story would be for me of that project was that Eric Stoltz was originally cast. Right. I was working during that time, so when he got let go, they reshot the movie for 5 weeks before they realized when it was time to get back to me that I had been on payroll that whole time. So that was a complete blessing to this day because it's going on to be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, trilogy of all time, and still plays on TV constantly.
Right.
I get nice residual checks that have saved me ass more than once. So thank you, Back to the Future.
Awesome. And now back to our regularly scheduled programming here. From the people that are commenting right now, Willard was brilliant. Thank you. That's a callback a little bit earlier.
Right.
Harry Connick Jr.'s version of Danny Boy. Oh my God. I cried.
Fantastic.
I cried. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, it was
Do you still
fantastic.
talk to Michael J. Fox? So he wants to know. He hasn't heard
No.
much from him since most recent show went off the air.
No, I only worked with the guy for a few days. We never got to really know each other.
Yeah,
But,
you were more Eric Stoltz time, right?
yeah, well, not just that, but when I was, the dance was, we shot that thing for like 2-3 days, but that was really it. And he was on that stage trying to learn those licks. He was pretty busy trying to learn how to play guitar while shooting his series still. So that guy was just burning the candle at both ends, man.
That's what he does.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Big Can't Buy Me Love fan as well. Courtney played Red Dick.
Ah, there you go. Back Lust in the Dust again.
Lust in the Dust. He's sending out a lot of love for that.
Yeah.
Poor Boy Drowning the Fury with Kevin Sorbo and Danny Trejo. How
Oh
was
my
it
God,
to
you
work
guys are
on that
really-
shoot?
You guys are really. I love it. They're pulling out these are obviously real.
Okay, so
film
you
fans,
lean
but
left.
they're pulling out stuff that's not the most popular. I love it.
You lean left like myself.
A little
What
bit.
was it like working with Kevin Sorbo?
There was no talk about that stuff. I've known him from conventions and stuff too. He's a really nice, easygoing guy. So it's been really interesting to see now that he's, like I said, a lot of people, for lack of better words, kind of gone off the rails over the last. Ricky Schroeder. I've met Ricky several times. Nice guy.
Right?
So as long as
Dean
he's,
Cain. I love Dean Cain. Every
Yeah.
time I've met Dean Cain, he's the nicest man in the world.
that's true. I was in an NBA entertainment basketball league with the guy. He was a nice guy. I guess as long as you don't, as they say, right, don't talk politics or religion with people, you're okay.
Is that what we're missing from this generation? And when I say this generation, I don't mean like millennials or Generation Z or Gen Z or anything. I mean 2021. Is that what we're missing right now? Is the fact where we don't talk politics or religion?
I think that what's happened is we, with this internet age, everybody's putting their life out in all fashions and forms, and I think that trolling is where this all started. I think that everybody who tries to troll personally we should be able to trace them back to where they live.
Right.
I think that would shut a lot of people up.
Keyboard warriors.
Yeah, because when you can get away with being nasty to people and there's no consequences, some people are nasty. And hopefully this doesn't get people to become a troll to me. But there's more than once I've been like, "Tell me where you live, pal.
Right.
We can meet at so and so if you like."
You like Michael Rappaport. I'm surprised no one's taken a shot at him yet.
No
But
kidding.
I love Rappaport.
Well, even NBA players who are friends of his have taken shots at him. 'Cause
Durant.
he's got a big mouth, man.
Oh yeah, because him and KD got into it recently, didn't
Yeah, but he definitely steps in it now and again. That is for sure.
they? But I'm all right with it because it's great entertainment. Nate has a great question here. Have you ever regretted passing on a project that turned out to be a hit?
That is a great question. I don't pass a lot because I'm just happy to get work when I can get it. But let me think. I can't think of anything that comes to mind, but there are times when I've auditioned for things that it's going to be a big break, or a job you really want. It's a heartbreak to lose. And I would say one of them that comes to mind is, and Eric Stoltz beat me out for it, was Mask. I would have loved to have played that.
Wow. And how different would that have changed your life when you think about it? Is that something that you focus on? Because I know a lot of actors that have spoken instances like this. They're like, I try not to focus on it, but how do you not?
You try not to because you can't change history. But it's one of those things I always say, like, I'd like to have my chance to do it too. And not that I don't think Eric's a very good actor, I do. I think maybe I could have brought a little more street edge to it than him, just because I grew up a little more in that era. Like, I grew up around some bikers and things, and I think maybe there would have been something there that I could have brought. But he did a fine job. But when I first met him, I was like, "Damn you, man! I wanted that job."
They should have given you his role in Pulp Fiction.
Hey, he did a great job in that too. I don't know. I could have done a better job on that. He did a great job. But you come up against your fellow redheads along the way, and sometimes they beat you out, and sometimes you beat them out.
Bert Harvey, coming at us from Ryan's All Things Geek, says, "Whoa, Mask! Now I'm damn curious how you would have come at that character."
Yeah, I think I said it. Just I would have had a little more edge, probably a little more anger, just because that's some of my strong suit. Eric is by nature pretty passive. You know what I mean? He just is. He's takes a lot to rile that guy up. It really does. Takes
He's a hippie without the weed.
It doesn't take as much to rile me up. I'll just say that.
Christopher Darton says, Courtney got to work with a fantastic cast in Colors with one of my favorites, Dennis Hopper. How was his experience? And, of course, Robert Duvall and Sean Penn.
Another great question.
Great question.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, and also, let me know if you're running low on time.
No, I mean, really enjoying these questions. So
Perfect.
There's more questions. We can keep going, man.
Awesome.
I mean,
I'm saving mine for the end. I'm just letting these guys go.
A very intelligent audience. I'm enjoying it. So, Colors. So how I got that job was because my acting mentor, Virgil Fry, knew Dennis pretty well. He helped him make Easy Rider. And he has a small role in it. He also helped with casting and makeup. He has a makeup credit in the film. But that was obviously a groundbreaking film. It was the first true independent film to break out and really rattle the studio system. And a great film. So I did 3 movies in a row with Gerardo Mejia. If you remember Gerardo Mejia, his big single Rico Suave. We did 3 movies in a row. We did a movie called Winners Take All for this company, Apollo Films. And then we did Can't Buy Me Love for them. And while we were shooting that, he knew that I grew up in the tough neighborhoods in LA. And he started out as a pop locker. So he grew up in tough neighborhoods and stuff. And when he read the script, he got the script to audition for Bird. He was like, dude, you're not going to believe it. This movie is about the gangs, but there's a white boy role in it. You're not going to believe it. I knew there were white guys in the gangs, but people didn't really know that. So I got on the phone and I called Virgil. I said, you got to get me in on this. I got to play this guy, you know? And so all I had to do was really, once they were still casting, once we were done with Camp by Mid-Levels, I just showed up in the garb, you know, in my Pendleton and all like that. And Dennis was like, so you know about this stuff, huh? And I'm like, yep. And he's like, all right, you're in. So that was great. But Dennis Hopper was one of the most intense people I've ever
really
dealt with and got under my skin more than anybody. My character was like 87th on the call sheet. Okay. It was a massive cast and, you know, not the biggest role obviously, but he nothing got by that dude. And the way he was directing that was very interesting. He would really leave it very loose what was going to go on in the scene. But then if you did something he didn't like, he would like yell at your ass, right? And I was very confident at that point. I'd already done a number of films. I was feeling very good about my work. And I was, compared to a lot of the smaller actors, and they were like just petrified and would do nothing. I would play the moment, you know, I'd play the scene. And sometimes he didn't like the things I did and he'd yell at me. My character went, why did he get the hell out of there? You know, but at the same time, he would throw things at me. Probably the most thing I'm known for in that movie is when at the party scene, the shots go off and it looks like I get shot and I'm high on PCP. He threw that at me with 1 minute before that scene happened. They'd spent hours squibbing it up. All of a sudden he goes, Whitey, get your ass over here. You're on PCP. Go. I'm like, come on, dude. But he was messing with me in a way because my mentor and him were close, and my mentor told him, this is my best guy. And so he put me through it, man. And I was able to come up with something. I talked to the cops who had been on, sometimes they get, if they have like a cut on their hand and they're clearing out PCP, they have the effects. I was talking to homeboys. I put it together and I did it. And Dennis Hopper comes out of the room after I was flinching and everything. I was just relaxed. He's like, great scene, smoking a cigar. Great scene, man. And then storms back in his room again. I mean, that's the kind of stuff he would do.
Right.
But again, nothing got past him. I was playing guitar on the stoops of my trailer, and he came walking by, takes the time, notices that, files it in his brain. When that girl came up with the idea of her playing a song, he goes, why do you go get your guitar? You're playing music with her. And so then you have this very interesting artistic moment of, you know, gangbangers playing music. I mean, you know, that's not what people would come up with.
No.
But somebody creative like Dennis Hopper would. And Dennis Hopper made that movie happen because they approached him. It was just a cop movie. He was living in Venice, which a very tough part of Venice in California called Ghost Town at the time. And he knew about the Bloods and the Crips and stuff. And he said, you make this movie about the LA gangs, I'll do it. And, you know, that broke West Coast rap. That opened a lot of people's eyes to what was going on in South Central. People had no idea. So I gave him all the props to do that. That's very hard to do, to make a movie and a year out later, it's pop culture, you know, which he did with Easy Rider and he did with this. So I give him all the credit in the world. So let's talk about Sean Penn and Robert Duvall for a minute.
Yeah.
So Sean Penn, you know, I mean, I think he's like, like right up there as the best of my generation of the X Gen. So I hold him in high regard. He was in an interesting place in his life, though, where this is when he was dating Madonna, and every time he'd see somebody on the camera, he'd climb over the wall and go beat him up or smash their camera. So he was kind of in an interesting place, But he and I got on well. He liked my work, and I obviously like his. So that was great. Duvall is like up there on the best of my best, right? Like he's right up there. So I came into it with like, okay, is this guy going to mail this in, or like, what's he going to do? Like, how's he going to conduct himself? And literally from beginning to end, I learned so much from him about how to conduct yourself, especially when you're a lead in a movie. And I'll give you examples. So we had a big reading, a big giant table read of the movie, like, 187 people. It was crazy. And who was at the front door greeting everybody? Robert Duvall. And that's genius because, of course, we all want to meet Robert Duvall. So he just got it out of the way, right? And again, set a tone, is the first guy there greeting everybody. Brilliant, right? Wow. So right from the beginning, he set a tone. And then the scene at the end, which was the last thing we ever shot where he dies, I learned just a really valuable lesson about how to keep your ego in check to serve your work. So, this is a very emotional, intense moment. The most intense moment of the movie. They call him in. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. They're like, we're ready. He goes to lie down, and then they're like, we're having a lighting problem. 45 minutes, he's lying in the fucking dirt. And I'm thinking to myself, this is Robert Duvall. They're just letting Robert Duvall lie in the dirt at like 2 in the morning with his biggest scene. Like, I can't believe they would do this to him. Finally, Dennis Hopper comes in and was like, we're sorry, we're ready when you are. He's like, I'm ready. And he blows the lid off of the performance. I'm like less than 6 feet away from him watching probably the best piece of work in person I've had the chance to watch. And I had to, after he did that take, and then they had to relight to do close-ups, so I had to come up to him. And I was like a little kid. I was like, dude, that was awesome. And he's like, I wish that had been my close-up. I don't have another one like that in me. And he did his close-ups, and they were very good, but he was right. He had, after holding it in for 45 minutes, it just exploded. And I always tell this story because if you watch the close-up of him in the movie, you'll notice it's like at a weird 45-degree angle, and you'll notice it's grainy. And what I believe happened is they blew up the wide shot into a close-up because that performance was just otherworldly. You literally see at the end it get like a light for a minute as it's like he's leaving his body. Like that happened. Like it was so good that he like messed with the molecules of the 35 millimeter film. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Is that a Dennis Hopper thing?
What, blowing up like he did?
Yeah. I
think that was definitely a Dennis Hopper call for sure. I think he realized, the best performance was that one, and he knew why because he'd been waiting so long. And I think he was like, let's just get a piece of that, man. Just blow it up. And like I said, if you see it, you'll notice it's grainy. You don't think about it if you're watching the movie, but because I knew the performances, I saw all of them. That was his. It was just a transcendent performance. Transcendent death scene.
Now we got a couple other questions here.
Yeah,
I'm not sure why we're echoing now. Are you hearing that too?
Let's
see.
A bit
of an echo coming from me or no?
No, not too bad.
Okay, it's over now. Couple questions here. 2 from Nate. Nate says, did you get to meet any of the families of the crew of the real Memphis Belle on set or at the premiere? And how was that?
Great question. I was actually going to talk about them and got distracted on it when we were talking about Harry Connick. So we got to fly out 8 of the original crew members with their wives. And they had this wonderful dinner together. And I talked previously to the character I loosely play, Kashmir Nastal, who's no longer among us. He was just a great guy. So it was so great to get to meet them. Something about those guys being in a room together, it was like guys who'd won a Super Bowl together. You know what I mean? Like they had beat the jaws of death. Oh, yeah, you could feel it. Like they were hearkening back to those days when they beat the jaws of death. There was this feeling about them as a unit that was so great for us to see. It was an intangible that we would have never gotten otherwise. But the most wonderful moment is when Harry Connick got on a piano and started playing old songs, and these guys all started dancing with their wives. And it was just bigger than a movie. It was just bigger than a movie.
And that movie is a huge movie. Anyone who hasn't watched this was a big epic. What was that? Late 80s, early 90s?
It came out in 1990, and we had high hopes for it, and it ended up not doing great box office because it came out right when the first Iraqi war broke out, and no one wanted to go see a war movie. So the Warner Brothers' big breakout movie that year ended up being Goodfellas instead of us. Could be both, but it's gone on, of course, to people know it, and it's done very well in rentals and stuff. But unfortunately, we didn't do the kind of, if we had done bigger box office, honestly, it probably would have changed the trajectory of my career a little bit, I would think.
It says, I'm just having chills thinking about that, being in that room. That has to be a moment you'll never forget.
True.
Sure.
True.
I would concur.
I got chills too.
Now, I had a couple of questions myself as well. We're getting into con season with COVID, kind of everything opening up, especially in the States. You guys are basically open everywhere. Canada, we're starting to follow suit as well.
Good.
Now, you are one of those guys that balances both kind of con genres. I mean, there's many genres, anime, furries. We're not talking there.
I'm big in the furry genre. What are you talking about?
But we just never know it's you.
Exactly. Just wouldn't know it was me.
But we do see you a lot in the comic book, kind of the comic book convention scene, and also in the horror convention scene.
Yeah,
do you notice a big difference between the two? And if so, do you have one that you kind of prefer going to?
I'm not real big in the Comic Cons. I do okay, but really, I'm there for the horror ones. That's my majority that I get into. Sometimes it'll be like 80s retrospective ones, but primarily with my manager, he's big in the horror world, Christopher Lloyd management, and he's also he reps me all over now. But I started with him just doing cons, and in that world, he's pretty big. His first client was George Romero, so he kind of started at the top and worked his way down. So mainly I do horror. So I've got a couple coming up that, like I said, because we're just opening back up. One is Motor City Nightmares, and that's obviously in Detroit, and that's at the end of July, beginning of August. And then I just got another one in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. So maybe I'll get a chance to check out Gettysburg. That would be cool. And that's at the end of August, I think 26th, 27th, something like that. So that's, what is that one called? I just literally got that yesterday. I forget the name of it, but Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, you can find it. So it's starting to open up, and obviously the closer we get to October and all of that, the more they get stacked. Or you do appearances and things too. Sometimes do haunted houses or things like that. So that can be interesting. They always want to take me to the haunted houses and try to scare me, and I'm just like,
right.
It's not that I can't easily get scared. I can. I just don't. I'd rather see how they build them than have women screaming in my ear. I can't stand them screaming at me.
Yeah, I'm one of those people. If I get scared, like I'd be horrible on a prank show because I swing.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
one of those. I'm fight, not flight.
And then my worst favorite thing of all is going through one of those strobe smoky rooms trying to find the door out. That just pisses me off. I don't know.
That just gives me a seizure.
Exactly. I'm just like, hey, can I just see how you guys did the build instead? I find that much more interesting. So.
Give me the BTS. That's all I need. Just give me the behind the scenes. It would be good.
Exactly.
I want to take a look at a couple things here, clips that we have.
Sure.
Just to show some people some of your work here, and then we'll kind of go through these real quick. Sure. First one I want to show children.
We must sacrifice them both tonight.
Amos will satisfy him. We need the woman. She'll bring the man to us.
No, he must be taken without her. We cannot remove her from this place. It is holy.
We will bring the Lord too by using one.
Not blaspheme, Malachi. You know not the laws. He speaks them only to me.
I think not, Isaac. You are the one who's lost favor with him. He's the God of blood and sacrifice, not ceremony.
Ah, sacrilege! Down on your knees, heretic!
Shut your mouth, Isaac. You've grown prideful apart from us.
Good scene.
Wicked scene. Now, this is what, your second, third movie?
First film. Both John.
First film.
First films. Yeah.
Now, what is it like as an actor to have this as your first film? What kind of direction are you getting from the director, and how much is just you interpreting the dialogue and trying to wing it?
No, none. no winging whatsoever. And what's funny for me watching that scene is, you sort of hear how I talk now. They really, Jeff Goldberg went on to be a big casting director, was our dialect coach, and he really made me overpronunciate everything I said. And
Right.
you really see it in there. And whereas John, he came from theater, he was, much more, Shakespearean trained,
Speaking from the diaphragm.
Yeah, well, just good dialect and stuff too. Yeah. So yeah, that was a little annoying, to be honest. And I'm glad I've never had to go through that again, except for like working with a dialect coach on a dialect like, say, Sweet Home Alabama. We had a dialect coach, or did this type of Southern drawl, or did a Civil War movie where it was Virginia, so they give you some tapes to hear Virginians, but nothing too terribly. This one, they really, being that was my first film, they were really on my ass about it. And whatever, maybe it worked, I don't know, but it's pretty funny to hear it.
Sorry, go ahead.
But that cornfield was like a very powerful place for me. And when we'd walk in the corn road from where our trailer was to there, I could just feel it building up. And by the time I'd get on the set, it gave me this moment of prepping. By the time I get on set, I would just be, ready to eat everybody's lunch. And so when the director, Wood Fritz Kirsch, who I actually still do talk to this day, great guy, he would be, saying, look, like that one was a walk and talk. We had a dolly track, first dolly track scene I've ever done. So you have to walk kind of slower than you would normally walk because the camera can only move so fast. So you rehearse those type of things. And he'd be explaining these things to me, and I would just be looking at him like I wanted to kill him, and he'd be like, are you getting this? Are you understanding? And I'm like, uh-huh.
Yeah, definitely.
And then we would do a rehearsal, and I wouldn't do my performance. And he'd be like, is that the way you're going to do it? And I'd be like, no. And he's like, okay. I said, why don't you let me, roll one, so see how it goes, and then if you want me to do something else, let me know. Because I didn't want John to know what I was going to do exactly, And I, as an actor, I don't like to save it for the performance. I, as an actor, just need to know my cues and where I got to walk to, right? Like my, get to this mark, get to that mark. Why do I want to blow out my performance in a rehearsal? I'm not, I'm a film guy, like I'm not a theater guy. Like I can do it the same 500 times. That's not me. I build something up and then I let it rip, and whatever happens. And that in that cornfield, the muse, they call it the muse. When it comes through you, man, the muse would hit me crazy in that place. And I think that's part of why that role's memorable, is because for some reason I was channeling something, man. I didn't feel like it was evil, thank God. It just felt like spirit,
Right. And that's going to be a weird thing too. Like I have a theater background as well, and I always tell people one of the best feelings you can get as an actor, at least that I always remember, is that moment where you forget you're acting and you forget you're actually who you are, and you in that moment during that scene, you are that character, and it's a certain euphoria. How often do you get that, and when was the last time you remember that?
And I certainly got it on that one. I've never 100% not been present. I mean, I know there are actors who do have that happen,
right.
But in my mind, I need to follow the lines, and I need to hit my marks, and so that requires Courtney to pay attention a little bit. So when I'm at my best, I call it like 98% character and like 3% me, sort of almost like visualize, seeing it all from like witnessing it from the back here somewhere. And when it's really going good, that witness is going, ooh, that's good. Like, wow, I wouldn't have expected that to come out. And that's when I know I'm at my best, is when I do things that surprise myself, that my intellect wouldn't have come up with. But in that moment, something happens. And that's where the magic is. And it's in theater too. Don't get me wrong. I like doing theater, and then the immediacy of an audience is a fascinating thing. But the difference is you have to hit it every night. You have certain things you have to hit every night. Right. And you can find variance within that, but you have certain requirements that you have to do. And, so the prep I do might be different, because something I use what they call from sensory work, remembering something from my past, that won't last. That's good for like in a film, that's good for like 4 or 5 takes maybe. And it works great in films. I'm best at that, but that'll burn out for you as an actor doing, 30 shows.
Right.
So then I use, I actually take it back. That's called sense memory.
Unless you're Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, then you can do it 73 days in a row, same scene, and keep getting it.
But I use a different technique called sensorial stuff, where you use memories of things that will get you to a certain mood every time. They're in your memories in a different way. They're not quite as just this emotional jolt that the other one gives you. So that's, when you train, you learn, you have these different set of tricks to use for different different things you're going to do, and are the different settings you have to. And I've never done like Broadway or something. You're doing like 6 shows a week. I imagine that's very challenging, but I would love that challenge. I would love to find out what that would be like.
Nate Cochran comes back in at us with, do you feel technology has helped or hurt the craft of filmmaking? And this is an interesting question for yourself, because you've been in this for decades, so you've seen the evolution of technology. I
think it hurts. And I'm old school, so that's probably not a surprise. That's what I said. But the reasons I think it hurts is you hear all too often now, we'll fix it in post. Yeah. And I don't like that mentality. Get it where you get the best you can get where you're there at that location. You know what I mean? Get what you can get. Don't just blow it off.
You're more practical effects over CGI, obviously.
I think they both have their place. I think things can be overly CGI, that's for sure. But I think there's some amazing things you can do in CGI that you could not do in practical effects. There's certain movies that could get made now that you couldn't. But I think that the industry has become too reliant on it. Like, if we just have cool effects, we don't have to have a good story. Right. That's the problem I have. I think that, I think that the acting has become secondary. I don't know. It's different too. I think the reason there's a lot of actors from Australia and England that have sort of taken over is because it's these guys. It's like guys in tights, right? They're in these uniforms and these capes, and this is more of a Shakespearean training. They can pull off anything and make it look noble and make the dialogue work. And I think that's why those are the guys that are getting those jobs. Yeah. But I gotta say, I miss, I came up in the 70s movies, and with the bad endings, movies that, some people may know or not know, like Electric Glide and Blue, when I was a kid, blew me away when what's his face, who played Beretta? What's that guy? God, I can't think of names under the pressure. It'll come to us, or somebody will type it in. But exactly. The movie, he gets blown away. He's like off this motorcycle. He's a motorcycle cop, and he dies in the middle of the desert in the street. I remember as a kid, I was just hammered by that. I was just like, whoa.
Oh, Robert Blake.
Robert Blake, thank you.
That's
and I think
right.
Robert Blake's, hell of an actor. Yeah. but that's not a movie that a lot of people would know. It's a kind of a B movie. But I remember I loved those I like film noir. I like, gritty shit, and because I grew up in a gritty neighborhood. So fairy tale endings don't really do it for me. I like gritty stuff, and I like real stuff. That's why I love when I get to do a movie like a Colors or a period piece about the Civil War or a World War II movie. Real stuff, real experiences, real people, ordinary people in extraordinary circumstances.
Right.
Not I'm not knocking Superman or Batman or anything, man. I'm just saying that's not really, Yeah,
fair enough. What's your favorite movie of all time?
Yeah.
And I know that's something that varies from time to time. Well, what's in your Mount Rushmore?
Right. Well, yeah, there you go. At least I can pick a few. I tell this story because I think it sums it up. So when my kid was little, he's in his mid-20s now, I would go to any dang stinking movie he wanted to go see that had any kind of scatophobic fart joke that he thought was good. That's all you have to do with kids. And I put up with all that because, hey, it's our time together, and take him go see what he wants. But I had one requirement, and that was he had to watch 3 movies of my choice. And he was like, okay. So the requirements were to watch On the Waterfront, because I wanted to show him, these guys you think are big stars now, let me show you what Brando looks like.
Right.
And at the end of that, he's 10 years old. He goes, Brando. He got it. He got what a great leading actor could be, And the second movie was The Manchurian Candidate, the original.
Right, with Frank Sinatra.
Yes, and I'll never forget, because I remember when I was watching the movie and I was confused by what was going on and going this, but he was a kid, so he started taking, he's like, this is weird. And then the turn, and you see that they're under hypnosis, and he goes, this is cool.
Right.
And he still knows the choreography to the martial arts fight with Henry Silva, who I actually got to do Lust in the Dust with. My son remembers that fight to this day, So love that movie. And then the last movie was Citizen Kane.
Wow.
So there's my Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, and
like
I think
Das Boot a
Citizen
lot,
Kane is
too.
that one that everyone goes to, right? Like it's on.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. I like Das Boot too. That film Das Boot. Our director said, when we made a Memphis Belle, that he was trying to make Das Boot with wings. I don't know if you remember. It was a German film where they were in a submarine.
Yeah, I know of it. I don't think I've ever actually watched it. All black and white, right?
No, it's color.
Oh,
and it turns out, in fact, when I was in England when we were doing Memphis Belle, turns out in Germany that actually was a mini-series that they cut into a feature.
Damn.
And I got to see the mini-series, and it was great too. But man, yeah, that movie, the acting in that movie, when they're sitting there, when the charges are being dropped, and they're just having to be quiet, and it's like, but death is at their door. The actors had to find something internally to get to this place. It was just them sitting in a damn tube on a set. You know what I mean?
Wow.
To get to that place where you could they didn't have to say anything. It was palatable. You could feel the death in the room. That to me was great directorial stuff and good actors.
Yeah. And how underrated are cinematographers in your opinion in Hollywood? Are they? I guess I should preface that. Are they?
I don't think in Hollywood. I think probably to audience members they are.
Okay.
In Hollywood, I think that if they know their value, a lot of them, not all of them. David Watkins in Memphis Belle is the sweetest guy in the world, but some of them have really big egos because they definitely have if it wasn't for me, there would be no movie.
There would be no Blade Runner.
There'll be no anything. If I'm not filming it, there's no movie. You wait, without me, you're nothing. There's some who have that mentality for sure. But you know what I think is probably the most underrated, or at least I would say, and it took me a long time to realize how important they are. The production designers. They're the most underrated.
Yeah. And the work they put in.
Well, you don't think about it though, right? It's just a set, right? It's just this thing. People are taking it for granted, but that is design. I mean, that artist who used his design for Alien. I forget that artist's name.
Steiger.
I think
was it?
But
H.L. Geiger.
Yes, Geiger. That makes that movie, man. I mean, that and creating the monster is all his brainchild. Without that, what do you got? What do you got?
Cronenberg.
So DPs, or I should say directors, their first two calls are the production design. You show me a successful director, a big budget director, I show you a really good production designer and a good DP. And often their production designer is their first call because that person helps the director either come up with the vision of the look or invents the look altogether for them. And then that influences everything. That influences the color schemes that the wardrobe designer is using and all these things that you don't think about. It all starts with production design.
Now, we're going to take a look at one more clip here.
All right.
And this one, there's not too much production design on this one. This looks like this guy's got a really good neighborhood to work in. This is obviously from the classic The Burbs.
Yeah.
Ray, come here.
What is it? It's my neighbor.
Hey, one of the Huns came out of the cave.
Why don't you go say hi?
Well, yeah, I guess I could.
What a great scene. And just even the pan of shot with you. I mean,
you see a very good director's work on that one. I mean, Joe Dante, how he milks that whole moment shows skill set there. But I have to beg to differ about production design. They built that. That wasn't there. That's why in the end it gets destroyed. They built that one. That the Kopech house was built from scratch. Wow, so that was all production designer. Interior and exterior is all production design. So
amazing. Well, there you go. A very underrated part of the film crew, as they would say. So with that, we're about an hour 20 in here. I do have a couple questions for you. We'll get you right out of here. Okay. First, before I get to the questions I always ask everyone before they leave, tell us a little bit about Ripple Street.
Sure. Yeah, let's talk about my music for a minute. So Ripple Street is my band. I started out as a 3-piece band in LA, and my bass player Stephen Lee Adams, who I've been co-writing with for years. It's like 90s grunge. I think our first record was very much that. This one's a little heavier at spots. We brought in another a guitar player named Frankie Bogus, who's also helped us with the engineering and the producing. So we've put out 3 singles this year so far. We've got 2 more to go, and then that'll make our new EP. That's going to be called Up and Go. And then I also have a solo project I'm doing, which is basically a lot of material I've had for a lot of years that I just want to get out, and some of it I think is best acoustically. And we just put out there it is, Acoustic Gains Volume 1. That song Cherished was out last week, and we have a new song coming out next week called Let It Ride. And that's very bluesy, very vintage. And so kind of the spectrum, the acoustic's very mellow, and the Ripple Street's a bit of more of a hard rocker. So.
And we've seen that with a lot of grunge performers from our era that really did love that acoustic as well. Like, I mean, some of the best work we saw with Nirvana was that Unplugged album. Well, Chris Cornell Unplugged.
Yeah, I can actually take a little weird credit for Unplugged. And this is so when I had my band, The Gathering, in the 90s, it was late 80s, early 90s. It was an acoustic band, which was everything was metal at that time. But it was right as the coffee house scene was blowing up. And there was this place called Highland Grounds. And the guy that ran it was this guy named Spooky. And the reason I shared that is because then Spooky used our video as one of the videos he's had showing what he was doing there. And he actually ended up becoming a VJ on MTV. And he was the one who broke the Seattle sound. But not only that, he was the one who came up with the Unplugged, except he wanted it to be unknown artists. And they took the idea and used good, well-known artists, which ultimately was a greater and more sellable idea that it pissed him off so much he left. And crazily enough, it was in New York. He was doing the MTV. He literally walked out of there pissed off and left and saw that there was like an open call for the Who musical. He ended up getting the freaking lead in that and toured for 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so I had actually a little hand in the Unplugged.
You were part of that butterfly effect.
Totally.
Yeah, you're right in that ripple. You caused the ripple.
I was a part of it. I was actually in the video that got him the job at MTV. Isn't that crazy? My band, The Gathering. Isn't that crazy?
That's awesome.
But back to acoustics real quick. Yeah, I think that, again, growing up in the era I did, there was a lot of acoustic music and a lot of acoustic pop or a lot of acoustic rock. And I think it gives you a feeling in a sense that, digital, everything digital now doesn't. And I come from this old school of, if you can't bang it out on a piano or a guitar, it's not a good song. You know what I mean? Right. It's not. In other words, if it can sound good, stripped down, it's an executed, good written song.
And if you could sound good without auto tune, then you're a good singer.
All of those things. So, but I think if you can write a song, on the most stripped down version, I think that's the testament to writing a good song. And that's what I really like is writing. And I think that's what I'm best at. I'm singing, I'm decent. Guitar player, I'm decent, but I think I can write a good song. And so hopefully you'll take time to check some of these things out on Spotify. You can find both Ripple Street and Courtney Gains, Acoustic Gains Volume 1 on Spotify, Deezer, iTunes, all that kind of stuff. So, give me a couple minutes and maybe I'll surprise you, because there's a lot of actors out there who stink. I know that. But there's also some that are good. And, give me 3 minutes and, of your ears and see what you think.
So rank me where you are. Where are you between the Bacon Brothers and Kiefer Sutherland?
I don't know. I don't know. I think, again, these stuff that's stripped down, man, it's like I didn't hire like a pro crew of guys around me. But that being said, I have had that before too. The first record put out on my own called Gains songs from 1988 to 1999, just a compilation of a bunch of things they did. And I reissued this on Spotify too. It's called Journeyman, now an EP. That song Journeyman, Matt Sorum produces it from Guns N' Roses, and Slash plays lead. How about them apples? How about them apples? And so you get a chance to hear it was it's like when you watch a master, it doesn't look like they're doing anything. They look like they're eating, like they're not. A great runner doesn't even look like he's running, right? He looks like he's floating. That's how you watch Slash play lead. He's going like this, but the guitar's going.
I've seen Guns N' Roses. Oh, geez, what year was that? 94, 96? They were in Toronto at the C&E, and they were headlining Metallica and Faith No More. And it was right at, do you remember they were beefing with Nirvana?
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah, there was at one point, so Axl came out on stage with the Nirvana hat on. He's like, we've got no beef. I'm paraphrasing. And he takes the hat, throws it on the stage, puts lighter fluid on it, lights it on fire, and Slash goes, some of the best I've ever seen. Faith No More, one of the craziest shows I've ever seen.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, Mike Patton is insane.
Nice.
I'm just gonna put that out there.
Nice.
Not to get us too far off beat there. I will let us get out of here, though. I'm going to get you out with the last question.
Yes,
I always ask everybody the genie question.
Yahoo.
And mine's going to be a two-parter for you, though. You don't get 3 wishes. You'll get 2. One on the wish is, if you could act in any movie with any actor, actress of all time, who would it be, alive or dead?
Any movie with any actor. Ooh, that's pretty weird. I think I would somehow being involved in Dog Day Afternoon would be pretty awesome.
Oh wow, I like it. That's out there.
Yeah, I love that movie. I mean, that's a great. That's the kind of, people ask what kind of stuff are you looking for. It's, early Al Pacino, he really challenged the status quo.
You're out of order.
Right. But also, that's actually Justice for All. Which is
right. I'm sorry.
No, but that's right up there too. If I could play that role and replace Al Pacino, but how can you replace Al Pacino? But that's the kind of role I'm looking for. If someone's like, I always say the role of Al Pacino in Justice for All, a character who's, trying to take care of the marginalized, the forgotten, the weak and overlooked in a system that doesn't care about that is the kind of character I really think I could get my, dander up for, So that's the kind of role I'm looking for. And then I guess any actor, I think something with Anthony Quinn would be good.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm a big Anthony Quinn fan.
So there we go. Another connection to Kevin Sorbo.
Not only that, but Anthony Quinn grew up not far from where I grew up. He went to my rival high school. So,
oh wow!
When I read his autobiography, are you thinking of somebody else? When I read
his I was thinking of I forget his name. He played Zeus in the Hercules the Legendary.
Oh yeah, that's not Anthony Quinn.
No, Anthony Quinn was oh my God,
Zorro.
Yes,
I'm not Zorba the Greek. He's in Viva Zapata. He plays Brando's brother, and I remember
I am thinking the right guy.
When I saw, When I saw that, I didn't know he'd won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor, but I was like, he just smoked Brando in this movie. He smoked him. That's what I felt. And then when I found out he won Best Supporting Actor, I'm like, yeah, when you smoke Brando, I guess you deserve that. And so now I've always been a big Quinn fan. Yeah, Quinn fan.
And that was who I was thinking of. He played Zeus on Hercules the Legendary Journeys.
I'm going to have to look that up now. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I'm a 90s kid. And last part of the genie question for you is, because you are a musician.
Yeah.
If you could be in any band or you could have any musician of any time, alive or dead, join your band, who's it going to be?
Wowzer. I don't know how it would work out, but if I guess I could just pick my band, right?
Yeah.
I think I'd go with Neil Peart.
Shout out to Canada.
Yes. Oh yeah. Big time. Maybe John Paul Jones on bass.
Love it.
And, who could you pick on guitar? I mean, God, Jeff Beck or Jimi Hendrix. You know,
I'd actually go Robbie Robertson.
oh, that's a great choice. That's a really interesting.
I
choice.
really love Robbie Robertson. I just think he's a genius for making like an entire the band, right?
The band. Well, that documentary is fantastic, which Scorsese directed. A lot of people don't know that.
Oh no way.
Yeah. What a great documentary. I love that. It made me, certainly fall in love with the band.
Me too.
The band called The Band. And I've known, that would be but I don't know. Yeah, Robinson's awesome though. Don't get me wrong. I would, if I had to settle for Robbie, I wouldn't be crushed.
Right. Well, you could always have rhythm and lead, right? So
there you go. So,
room. And who's your singer?
Well, that'd have to be me, brother. That'd have to be me.
I love it.
I'm fronting this bad boy.
I love it. And what's the name of your band there, of your legendary band?
Oh, gosh. What would that band be called? Every day I come up with crazy names that I think would be great for bands, and then I forget them. What would that band be called? I don't know.
Justice for All, Dog Day Afternoon. Al Pacino. That's the name of that band.
What is it?
Al Pacino.
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad. That wouldn't be bad. Or just Pacino.
I love it.
Pacino.
Actually, that's great.
Yeah.
You should get that before Al does.
There you go.
Him and Adam Sandler will start the band.
There you go.
Courtney, this has been absolutely a blast. I can't believe you spent an hour and a half here of your.
Luckily, I've been doing 3 or 4 of these things a day. You were the last one, so it gave me the opportunity to stay on longer and thank your audience, because they made it happen with all their great questions. So.
Well, hey, we've got some really great fans here. Again, Courtney Gains, you guys know him. We almost forgot before we left. We will go out with the trailer. Check out Queen Bees is out on everything right now on video.
Might as well plug a couple of things real quick too. Right? We talked about coming out July 13th, right? We've got Charming the Hearts of Men coming out August 13th, and another movie that I did, Await the Dawn, a horror film, just came out on Amazon Prime. So there you go.
Amazing. For Courtney Gains, it's your boy Zeus here, and you've just tuned into another edition of RatG TV, and we are going out with the Queen Bees trailer.
Welcome to Pine Grove.
Welcome to Pine Grove.
Welcome to Pine Grove.
Is somebody going to say that every 12 seconds?
If you ever need anything.
I'm only going to be here a month during the renovation.
Can I help you?
This table is by invitation only.
Are you serious?
She used to say serious as a heart attack, but then Marjorie killed over, so she don't say it anymore.
We call them the Queen Bees. Guess what the B stands for?
Saving seats. Clicks. They're like Mean Girls, but with medical alert bracelets.
Let's go. Remember, sweat is just fat crying for attention.
Looking good, ladies. Ann, are you flirting with me?
Yes. I'm interested in joining the bridge club.
Someone needs a hearing aid. The roster's full.
Okay. Well, I heard Janet Poindexter's a real... This isn't high school.
It's worse. High school, we graduate. Here, we die. Come on, be one of us. We are the cool ones.
I've never thought of myself as cool.
You're not. With us, you will be. Give me the purse.
What purse?
My purse.
Now, why don't you take your wrinkly ass back inside?
We're the Queen Bees. We don't take crap from anyone.